Hello, good day. This is Josh. I saw another movie, guys. It took me by surprise. I'm just minding my own business, and the next thing you know, I am a moviegoer and perhaps a cinephile, even. I saw a movie called Saturday Night. Um, kind of like Joker, but not as extreme as that. I kind of was gonna. I don't know. I wasn't excited about this one. I was gonna give it a pass. Um, it's Jason Reitman, who's got a very uneven kind of track record with me, and he already made like an overwrought, over serious, over nostalgic Ghostbusters reboot that just absolutely baffled me. And now here's a movie about the just about one episode, the first episode of SNL, that just from the trailer, which granted looks very exciting and crisp and well made, clearly doesn't reflect any kind of reality. And any of these just kind of historical brand or property related, like Air, BlackBerry, Tetris. We have to have a movie about everything that you've heard of. Not that there's not a compelling story about Saturday Night Live. Not that it's not interesting. It is. There's a story there, and it's been told in lots of books and interviews and documentaries and things. But just as a film, I was like, well, I'm getting a little weary of the artifice of films presenting things to us as the definitive cinematic account of something, and then you just you do a tiny bit of reading, and none of it is true. Now, I don't think movies need to be ultra realistic and only present things that are like true in the forensic sense. I just think that movies become this kind of definitive artistic presentation of something, and if it's not, The Social Network is a great film. It doesn't resemble the actual origins of Facebook in any measure whatsoever. So, but it is a great film. It transcends it by being a really, really good David Fincher movie. I just wasn't sure that Jason Reitman had a really great SNL movie in him, or if he, wanted to make that. So anyway, I saw the movie. I'm a little late with my review. I saw Saturday Night, and I'm here to report that, yeah, the movie is, it doesn't represent anything authentic at all, except maybe moods and myths and legends about the origins of SNL. And it somehow manages to put every tidbit and myth and legend and thing it can think of into one movie that's a real-time depiction of the 90 minutes leading up to that episode. So everything amazing that ever happened in the making of SNL happened in that hour in that building, including hiring a new writer 6 minutes before the show starts. Anyway, but I'm here to tell you, it's a very entertaining movie. It's not like an overwrought nostalgia. It's fun. It's got a chaotic spirit. It's very well made. It's got a very great cast. There's so many people here that I cannot possibly, wisely the SNL cast members themselves, like Chevy Chase and John Belushi and the rest, Dan Aykroyd, they're portrayed by up-and-comers, and I didn't memorize all of their names. You recognize them from various places. They're all doing a pretty great job. But it was wise to not just take like super celebrities, and have like Jack Black and Ryan Reynolds play Chevy Chase and Dan Aykroyd or whatever. So that's good. People are evoking character pretty well. I thought that the Lorraine Newman was more of a Carol Kane. The Gilda Radner doesn't look anything like her, but her performance is incredible. She really evokes her very well. It's a good movie. It's well made. Just don't think that you're watching a document of what it was like to make SNL. It's interesting to play around with getting into the mind of Lorne Michaels. I do know his name. He's Gabriel LaBelle. He played Fableman. He played Steven Spielberg's analog in The Fablemans, and also Rachel Sennott from Bottoms and Shiva Baby and lots of. She's a real up and comer. She's fantastic as Rosie Schuster, who had she was married to Lorne Michaels, but they were estranged, and she was a writer on the show. And I don't know if her role has been inflated or whatever, but she's fantastic in the movie. She was one of my favorite things in the movie. It's just a lot of fun. You've got lots of characters floating around. You've got Billy Crystal and another comedian who are I guess they got cut from that first episode, and so he's hanging around in the background all the time. It's all the pressures of making a show, and it just makes it look like not a single decision was made before 10 o'clock on Saturday night. Somehow they made it to that point, and I know that this is a live show and it's rushed, and that's the whole point. And they didn't, even now they don't know. You listen to some of the stories of people who are on SNL or have been, and it is absolutely a wild ride to be on that show. And the first episode it was like the Wild West. Sure, great. It just, I'm pretty sure they had their cues and their rehearsals and things picked. Like this movie kind of plays with that stuff a little bit, where they acknowledge that they've had a dress rehearsal, but then it also looks like there are no scripts and nobody's ever done this before, and what are we doing, and we're almost going to air, and let's, and like shuffling things around. And I understand it's a movie, it's trying to be exciting. I don't know. I guess I prefer movies with a historical aspect or a real life aspect. I prefer that they at least try to, like, I'm sure Spotlight is not, to the point. I'm sure it's not a absolutely forensically correct depiction of what happened in that story, but it is slow and deliberate, and it evokes whatever. This movie's good. It's fine. Reitman does a really good job, actually, and then the direction of the ensemble and the chaos. Worth mentioning, people who do show up, characters, and then actors playing characters who show up. Robert Wuhl is in the control room. It's good to see. He's an actor you don't see that much anymore. The same actor, and I don't remember his name. I want to say Nicholas Hoult, but it's not Nicholas Hoult. It's another guy. Plays both Andy Kaufman and Jim Henson. And Andy Kaufman has a ludicrously pivotal role in the climax of the movie, where I was like, okay. But also, if I do have a beef with this movie, it's the way that it treats Jim Henson and makes him look like an absolute fool. It is well known that he did not get along. He and Frank Oz did not get along with the SNL people. They didn't let them write their own material, and the Muppets are, the best when they have creative control over. Obviously, the Muppets, you don't usually see the Muppets being for hire for someone else's script, which is what happened on SNL. Some kind of contract thing where the writers of SNL had to write for the Muppets, and they resented it, and so they wrote some real garbage for them. The puppets are cool in those segments, but they're not classic Muppet stuff. But the depiction of Henson himself, you've got, sure, Lorne Michaels is the center of this movie, and it's about his anxiety and his vision and how it came together in this show. But you got Jim Henson in the building. You got a real super genius in the building, and he's depicted as kind of a child who's wandering around being kind of browbeaten by everyone, and I didn't enjoy that. Even though I guess from the perspective of SNL, that's probably how they regarded him. Okay, there's so much other stuff going on. J.K. Simmons is Milton Berle, and I guess he was a legendary a-hole, but he certainly is portrayed as an unpleasant person, to say the least. There's just so much going on. Interesting what it does with Garrett Morris, but again, it makes it seem like there's so many issues that didn't come up ever until 5 minutes before the first episode, and then they're all having it out and hashing it out and arguing. Paul Rust plays Paul Schaefer. That's just a little. Whenever I see an improv comedy podcasting person in a movie, I'm like, yay, and very happy to see him. Cooper Hoffman is the producer of the show. I know his name too, and I can't remember the character's name. The kid from No Hard Feelings is there. There's just lots of lots of right now people, lots of up and comers and faces, and it's worth watching if you at all, if you. And I grew up. I say again all the time when I'm not repeating something. I didn't say this already, so why did I say again? I grew up with SNL. I was born actually a month after, a little more than a month after this first episode debuted. So as a baby, I wasn't watching the first seasons, but it loomed large in syndication and repeats as a kid, and I was fascinated with it. And I remember being a little older and getting the DVD box set of this first season in particular that had lots of behind the scenes and whatever. And so I have some investment in the material, and this movie is fine. It's good. It's actually a well done movie, maybe even an accomplishment of some kind. It simply is just not. It's not reality. Okay. Oh, Matt Reese as George Carlin doesn't. I mean, again, it's in a movie where people are evoking a lot of well-known people. The Chevy Chase is not really an impression of Chevy Chase. It's just capturing his kind of spirit. But boy, Matt Reese's Carlin, George Carlin, is incredible. It's like a really, really good distillation of his persona in just a couple of short scenes. So I know there's things that I must have left out that I didn't talk about. Willem Dafoe is here, the executives. The way this movie plays with like all the executives from all the affiliates in the country are literally physically here in the building, and they're here to cancel you if anything goes wrong, and we're going to cut to the tape of the Tonight Show. I'm sure these pressures reflect some kind of reality, but the way they're depicted, I just could not buy in. But it's fine. It's okay. It's not like I'm complaining. It is what it is. I don't know. This is just what movies are now, I guess. So this is a pretty good one. And of Jason Reitman's recent filmography, I'd say this ends up being a highlight. So that's my review. Thanks for watching. And you can support me on Patreon. I have a podcast feed where I've talked a lot. I'm not doing a video review of Joker 2, by the way, but I did a podcast on it. So if you find my feed in the description, you can hear it over there, or you can see everything collected and see it when it first comes out over on Patreon. Thanks for your time. I'll talk to you again very soon. Josh out.